Hello and good evening. It was a comprehensive win for the Knight Riders in Chennai last night, and we are here on the Oaktree Dugout to talk about that game. I'll introduce the panel right away, and it's all fans of the Kolkata team, or at least one of its key elements. That's Gautam Gambhir, Shreyas Iyer, or if not either of them, then most definitely Shah Rukh Khan. We have from Oaktree Shishir, we have Gaurav Kapur, and we have the Joy Factor, Joy Bhattacharya. Joy, we were talking offline, and one of the questions I asked you was 10 years back when they last won, you were in that dugout, and today you're on this dugout. How does that make you feel?
It's great fun to see it from the outside. I mean, 10 years has been a long time, and I think they took a long time to get everything going together. But I mean, the way they won this time was absolutely comprehensive. I mean, the last time we won, it required Piyush Chawla to hit a six of Mitch Johnson. Most unexpected thing you can find and win it for us. I mean, that shot actually won us the match. This time, I think it was much easier.
Gaurav, you've been also a big voice for Gautam Gambhir and how he will impact it. In fact, we put out a little post on our Twitter and Instagram last night. Was he the factor, or was it a bunch of other things as well?
I guess it can never be just one factor, but you can say there's one watershed event that can set things rolling in the right direction. I definitely think that him hopping over from Lucknow to here was one of those watershed events. There was a few others as well in terms of the auction, in terms of, getting Phil Salt as a replacement. There's a few, but in terms of the final, I want to say, yes, it was completely a one-sided final, too easy. In fact, it was the lowest target ever set by a team, which is what SRH did. So, yeah, it turned out to be a one-way street. But then Kolkata is full of one-way streets, so they know how to navigate them better.
Yeah. In fact, in the post-match, if you're watching it on the broadcast, then there was a lot of names which came in. Abhishek Nair, a lot of players spoke very highly about him. There's obviously Chandrakant Pandit, the other guy who doesn't smile. Shishir, let's go to SRH because they were also there. They showed up, but just about. So, what went wrong? You're on mute.
Is he on mute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I had a shaky start, just like SRH's batting. But I think for me, the defining moment was the first, like the openers set the platform for them and set the tone for them in each game, predominantly the entire season. And I think जब वो 6 पे 2 हो गए, that I think was the match for me, because you could sense Mitchell Starc turning up once again in a big match, big final, and the way he got Abhishek out, which I think was the ball of the tournament. And for me, the one thing that really kind of stood out was that Head gave the strike to Abhishek, the first ball, instead of taking it himself. So that because Head had taken the strike in the first two playoff games, and to him not taking the strike was, again, I don't know if, like, Gaurav, if you can explain it, was that a lack of confidence or just they were thinking differently, which we couldn't see?
We spoke about this on our show on Cricket Buzz Live yesterday. It was a good spot. A lot of people spotted it, and they tried to say that, oh man, is he like being, are you starting on the back foot? Are you already giving the advantage to the other team? But I spoke to Virender Sehwag about it, and he said this happens a lot. When you're going through a bit of a lull, you want to change things up a little bit. That maybe Mitchell Starc has got the wood over you. He's got you out for a duck in this tournament before, in the qualifier. So you just want to change things up. And Viru said that he would like to do that as well when he would open with either sort of Ganguly or Sachin Tendulkar. He said Sachin was a senior, so Sachin would always stay at the non-striker's end. And he says once in a while he would listen to me. And but the thing is that when you know that things are not going your way, and you saw things were not going his way, he had got a couple of ducks. He's not contributed in the games leading up to the final. So I think it's okay for players to change that around. But the fact is that Mitchell Stark was just so good. It didn't matter who was facing that ball. I mean, to be honest, like Don Bradman left-handed, Sachin left-handed, anybody could have faced that ball and would have had trouble with it.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I mean, we had the same discussion, and Michael Vaughan is there in the studios, and Michael is as sharp a cricket brain as you'll find on this planet. He's really, really sharp. And he said one thing. He said, it's probably useful for Travis Head to be at the non-striker's end and just see how much the ball is swinging, how much the pitch is doing in the first over. He's a senior partner. Give him that opportunity to see it for see it from the other side and see what's happening. And so, exactly, I thought that was tactically astute. There was nothing wrong with it. I did not think it was going on the back foot, and I think I completely was with the decision. I think it made sense. And there's a very fine line between bravado and standing up for yourself. And I think just not opening, just because of bloody mindedness, I think goes on the side of bravado.
Okay. So, just going back a few games for SRH, I mean, yesterday the power play is where everything went south, but they haven't been having a good batting power play in the last 3-4 games. It's always been, yes, they get to 55-60, but they do lose 3 or 4 wickets. That's been happening, consistently in the last, I would say, from memory, 4-5 games. Either one of the openers was out in, when the score was in single digits, mostly at 0, in fact. Is there a logic for this? Is there end of season fatigue in a way, like, because KKR, meanwhile, their opening partnership changed around because of Phil Salt having to go, right? So that kind of gave it some fresh legs in a way, of fresh lungs. What went wrong? What's gone wrong with the Sunrisers power play batting, which was doing so well up front? They were winning game, chasing 150 in 10 overs without losing a wicket. What's gone wrong in the last, let's say, 10 days, 2 weeks? Gaurav?
Nazar lag gayi. After they did that chase against Lucknow, that 160 plus chase in whatever 9-10 overs, uske baad nazar lag gayi. There is no opening partnership after that, if you notice. All of them are either 0, single digits, etc. But it is a long tournament, and this happens. People can figure you out. When you have somebody like Mitchell Stark, who obviously has played a lot with Travis Head, seasoned, professional, no stranger to big game experience or big game pressures. So yeah, I mean, it was just somebody who was tapering off, colliding into somebody who was climbing up. So I think that's what happened, at least in the 2 matches they played against Knight Riders.
Just going to take a minute to welcome our viewers, some of them regulars: Santosh, Sakshi, Divesh, Akshay. Thanks for joining. Kunal, nice to see you.
कोई पूछ रहा है अगर ये प्री रिकॉर्डेड है? नहीं भाई, 9:36 PM है अभी इंडियन स्टैंडर्ड टाइम, तो ये प्री रिकॉर्डेड नहीं है, ये लाइव आ रहा है. अगर आप मेरे घर की घंटी बजाएंगे तो यू विल बी एबल टू हियर इट राइट नाउ, पर बजाना मत प्लीज. Don't do that.
The other thing which seemed to go the other way around was the Kolkata power play bowling, which was struggling in its first few games, and by the end of it, they were routinely picking up 2 and 3 opposition wickets post 7 games. And we've got the numbers for the KKR bowlers. Between the main 5 plus Vaibhav, there's Varun with 21, Russell and Harshit with 19 each, Narayan with 17, Stark with some 17, and Vaibhav with 11. That's 40, 70.
कद्दू कटेगा सब में बटेगा.
It's been a lot of wickets. They've been managing to get teams all out consistently. They were letting a lot of 200 plus scores go up front, but changed it around in the last 7 games.
I think, look, there are 2 parts to it. One of it is that, there's some matches where batters just come and just take over. Bairstow did that against them. It happens. Klassen did that against them for a while. And for a while, you're completely lost because they're hitting it everywhere. But one of the things, and again, this was pointed out on the CricBuzz shows, was that Stark changed his length. You see, if you're bowling an Australian length, you bowl it much, much closer to the stumps, because what happens is that Australian pitches have more bounce. So you bowl it closer to the stumps and you're going to get swing there, and that's how Stark used to get his wickets in Australia. And remember, he's not played in India in that sense. I mean, IPL he hasn't played since 2015. So the other huge adjustment was Bharat Arun telling Stark that you need to basically pull back your length. because the length at which you're bowling here, uh, your ball is not going to rise. Those balls are now sitting up. The kind of bounce that you're getting here, those balls can really be whacked around. And I think he's just pulled back his length, and that's a huge, huge adjustment. And Stark is I mean, as I said again, very, very classy bowler. He went through the tournament, got really hammered in the beginning, but he learned. And once he adjusted that length, then he has that ability. Great bowlers have that ability to bowl Jaffas at any point in time. And the ball that he bowled to Abhishek, I mean, what do you do with the ball like that? What do you do?
Well, you watch it in the replays, I guess, and say that was me there. I think Abhishek would be proud to get out to a ball like that because it was unplayable for, as Gaurav said, a left-handed batsman, left-handed Sachin. A couple of questions coming in specifically for you, Joy. Let's take them. Kushal asked, does Joy have Shah Rukh Khan's number? Did he send any congratulation text? Did Shah Rukh send you or did you send him? I don't know what he implies.
No. So I have Shah Rukh's, the last Shah Rukh number I have was from 2015, which would have changed 17 times by now. But I do have Pooja Dadlani, who's who's really has to sing, and I definitely send the text, and she always passes on the message. So she's kind that way, and that's the easiest way to do it with Shah Rukh. I do not claim to have Shah Rukh's number, and the most dangerous thing with having Shah Rukh's number is when the time I used to have it on a regular basis is the pressure on sharing it. Said no, we won't tell anyone, but just share it. So yeah, I don't have Shah Rukh.
Best not to have it then. So you don't have to lie to people. That's best. But you know what they've done? There was a very interesting question here that somebody put forward saying, is it fair to give the credit to Gigi? Yeah, but Nini, it's a good point. Or I don't think anyone's giving him all the credit. See, what happens is when somebody wins, it's attributed to a lot of factors. Now, when somebody speaks about one factor, doesn't mean that the others are negated, right? So, as I said in the beginning, one thing can be a watershed event. There can be a few in this case. One is Shreyas returning as captain, right? You can't take that away from the success that they've had. One is, of course, Mitchell Stark coming. Maybe the young bowlers, also fast bowlers, Harshit and Vaibhav, get galvanized looking at, an international pro. You sit in the dressing room. Joy will tell you many stories of Wasim Akram giving advice to, young bowlers in the KKR dressing room. Then you have, of course, Bharat Arun working with them. You get Phil Salt because Jason Roy sits out. Gautam put Sunil Narayan as opener. He's not had a full season as opener in many years. So I don't think anyone is saying that it's just Gigi who did it, but he was an integral factor of it. It always has to be a perfect storm of things that come together. And that's what happened. Like, you can't say that, Russell didn't bat, so no credit to Russell. But he bowled and took 19 wickets. And he caught and he showed up with both knees. And he would go down to dive and he would come back up intact and he would not hobble off the field. So there's a lot of things that happened which were pretty cool. But I'll always say, this is something Ajay Jadeja used to say. And he always says that batters win you games, bowlers win you trophies. And this year, again, that is true with Knight Riders.
Yeah, I think one of the early games, Bhuvaneshwar came up with batters win you sponsorships and bowlers win you championships. That was
Nice.
One of his post-match.
No, it's a good one. But, I want to talk about Gautam Gambhir because I've spent many years with him. I've spent 3 years with Gautam and 4 years with Gautam. 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, 4 years with Gautam. And the thing about him is that he's one of the sharpest cricket brains that you'll come across. Very sharp cricket brain. And very, very adjustable, sharp, smart cricket brain. So one of the dangers which happens, a lot is that you have data. Okay, you have lots of data, you have matchups, data, this, that, and you have your instincts. Okay, and what happens is a lot of captains and coaches go one way or the other. So they say, yeah, this is great data, we'll go with the data. Or guys say, this data, data cannot tell you whether the guy has a stomach upset the previous day or he's not happy because his girlfriend has left him and therefore I need to bowl in a particular way. And that's true. Data cannot account for a lot of things which might have changed the last time these two matched up. But what somebody who's really smart can do is look at data, take what they want out of data, and then be practically intelligent about it. And that is Gautam. He's a genius in that. He takes enough from data to say, okay, this is useful information, but how I'm going to use it is very different. And look, you're absolutely right. Bharat Arun is a class addition to the Knight Riders, and It's very sad because the first bowlers that he bowled with, Nagarkoti, Shivam Mavi, just have had so many injuries that we have never seen the best of them. But Vaibhav and Harshit can tell you exactly how classy he is and what an influence he has on them. So, yes, I still feel Gautam was the piece that brought it all together. And it's easy to turn around and say, credit should be given to 20 places. And Gautam, you're talking about him doing well. LSG is a top 4 qualifier twice.
Yeah.
LSG is a top 4 qualifier twice after coming back. New teams got top 4 qualifier twice out of 10 teams. We are talking about a guy who's turned a franchise and immediately made them into 3rd place in season 1, 4th place in season 2. So let's not push it. Gautam is one of the sharpest cricket brains I know, and he may be underappreciated or whatever, but do not discount the value of Gautam going to the team. And that's why I said, today I put out a tweet saying 23rd of November, I think it was, that they picked him and the announcement came. And I said, that's a big win for KKR. And I was just put it out again and said that aged well because, I've worked with Gautam for 4 years. He's like, so I'll tell you a great Gautam story and then you'll understand a little bit about where his passion comes from. So Vijay Dahiya tells a story about Gautam. They're playing under 15 footer cricket, okay? Under 15 or under 17 cricket, age group cricket. They're going to Haryana to play a match. And Vijay Dahiya is in this Maruti 800 with 3 other junior cricketers. They're driving because, the other guys have gone and they need to reach them. And one basically huge truck scrapes them, okay? And it's not even Gautam's car, it's Vijay Dahiya's car. It scrapes them. And basically Vijay parks the car to stop it and, talk to the driver. And suddenly he turns around and he sees Gautam is not there. And then he sees Gautam, climbing up on top of them. This is a 17-year-old Gautam. He's not a big man now also. But a 17-year-old Gautam who's opened that. And there's this burly Sardar who's about 5 times his size, who's looking at this Gautam who's trying to catch his collar and hit him. And this guy's laughing that, dude, who is this guy? Does he not know that, I can just, and the Sardar is actually laughing, and that's Gautam. It doesn't matter what odds you are, Gautam is going to take you on. And I think that's the spirit he brings to the game. And it's just it's really, really fun to watch him because I've seen him close up, good moods, bad moods, and very often behind that face which doesn't show a smile, there is a good mood. You just have to know when it is.
Yeah, I got to
We
say,
saw enough of that
Breakfast with
last night.
Champions. Yeah, he did smile. It's a very big win because he and Sunil Naran both smiled. So it's got to be a big day in the universe when both those things happen together. But Gautam told me the story on Breakfast with Champions. He said that when he became captain of KKR all those years back in his first stint in year 4, he said that time Shah Rukh spoke with him and said, तू मुझे नहीं बता सकता कि मैं फिल्में कौन सी करूं और मैं तुझे नहीं बता सकता कि तू टीम कौन सी बनाए. So he says that you make your team, and Joy will back this up. He says, you make your team, I'll back you, and I'll come, I'll sing and dance with the boys, and I'll hug them, and I'll give them speeches or whatever has to be done to pep them up and get them in the mood, but I will not involve with the cricket decisions. We've had a lot of discussions about these. I'm going to segue a bit with other owners as well, and how owners have to make a mahal, right? And we have seen the hands-off approach of owners worked closely with the Gujarat Titans last year, and we saw that as well. The fund has bought them, let Ashish and the rest of the team, Gary, Vikram Solanki, just all of them run it the way they want to, along with the captain. So I think that also helps, and we have to give credit to Shah Rukh Khan. When you're such a larger-than-life character, you're the alpha in every room. You're the decision maker in every room. Everyone is looking up to you. To then step back and say, wait, we've got a person whose core competence is this. We're paying them the big money. I have to now step back and let them do what they do best. So I think some credit should be given there as well.
No, Shah Rukh was absolutely never. And you're absolutely right. What do I need to inspire the team? What do I need to make the team happy? That's it. He never did it.
I've seen him dancing with, you've seen it? I've seen him dancing with Ashok Dinda till 4 a.m. Both of them, it was like a dance-off. And we were all standing there. I think Rohan Gavaskar was with the team that year. So I'm obviously talking about a dozen years ago.
2010, 2010, yeah.
Yeah, so Wasim Akram was there. And suddenly we heard this noise coming from the dance floor. It was at the Dublin in ITC Sonar in Kolkata. And the dance floor was just a little down. So we went to the railing and were looking down, it's a few steps down. And we saw these two people dancing. And Rohan says, I think that's Dinda. And I think that's Shah Rukh. And then Dinda comes and tells Wasim, says, क्या करूं वसीम भाई, डांसिंग बहुत अच्छी लगती है. So then Wasim bhai tells him, bowling भी इतनी अच्छी लगती है ना, कल मिल सुबह नेट्स में. So yeah, they I think credit there as well.
Okay.
थोड़ी
Also wanted
मैं
to
बात करूं, एक और चीज मैं कहना चाहता हूं. I think हम obviously बड़ा celebrate कर रहे हैं Knight Riders को, and rightfully so. I think we have to talk about SRH as well, because capping off their last 3 years, they've been 10, 8 and 10, right? 8, 10, matlab they've won 8th position and 2 10th positions. I think if I'm right.
Last year they were definitely.
Last year they were last, right?
Yeah.
And what was the one thing that was common over there?
10, 8, 10. Yeah, exactly.
10, 8, 10, right? So the one thing that was common over there is that वो जो ऊपर था ना, समझ नहीं आ रहा था टीम किसकी है ये. यहाँ पे ना हम समझ गए कि टीम 2-3 लोगों की है. गौतम गंभीर की, श्रेयस अय्यर की, चंद्रकांत पंडित की. Somebody is on, louder volume, someone's on a softer volume. But team kiski hai. So then when you're rowing, you're all rowing. You look at one, if you see those Oxford-Cambridge races, there's always one person who's calling. So you're looking in that direction and everyone is rowing, right? You just get everyone plugged together. Chennai, we see that, MS's team. Mumbai, we've seen that in the previous years, that it was Rohit's team, right? So you can tell whose team it is. I think last 3 years with SRH, we were a little confused because वो Tom Moody गए, फिर वापस आ गए, फिर Bayliss थे ना वहाँ पे, Joy? Bayliss had come there, right?
हाँ, Bayliss was there.
Bayliss से कम, तो वो पहले उनके ऊपर थे, फिर वो पहले नीचे थे उनके, फिर वो उनको वापस लेके आया तो उनको ऊपर कर दिया. So, फिर ब्रायन लारा थे, मेंटोर थे, कोच थे, नहीं थे, कैप्टन केम, वेंट. तो ये बड़ा एक पंजाब बिजनेस मॉडल हो रहा था कि every year there were changes happening on the top shelf. And I really thought that this year also the same thing will happen. वो माकरम ने उनको टूर्नामेंट जिताया उधर, वो माकरम को हटा दिया है और अब पैट कमिंस को ले आए हैं, and he's not played that much T20 cricket. He's not even captained that much T20 cricket for Australia. So ये फिर लग रहा है कि फिर रायता फैल जाएगा इस साल. But I think that him and Daniel Vittori, and we discounted the fact that they had worked together so much in Australia and worked so well together in Australia. दोनों जब साथ आए ना, there's some magic that has happened over there. I think that if they had perhaps got the correct combination a little earlier, because you saw there were some changes. They had too many foreign players, so play Janssen, don't play Janssen. Then Hasaranga didn't come, so that confused them a bit. But I think
Phillips sat out 14 matches.
That's something that I will take to my grave without understanding how Glenn Phillips can sit on a bench in a T20 team. But I guess that's what happens when you buy so many high-profile foreigners, right? And a lot of them doing the same job. So I think that I think Pat Cummins is amazing. I'll be honest with you कि लग रहा था मेरे को एक दिन पहले कि यार ये इंडिया आके ट्रॉफियां जीतता रहता है या फिर एक और जीत जाएगा, ये कर क्या रहा है ये बंदा. So that was my only fear कि पैट कमिंस का वास्तु बड़ा अच्छा चल रहा है अभी ट्रॉफी के मामले में, तो शायद वो जीत जाए. पर I think श्रेयस का ज्यादा अच्छा चल रहा था.
On Shreyas, I'll segue back to the Gautam Gambhir factor. 2018, they are both in the Delhi Daredevils team.
Yeah.
Gautam is captain. I think after 7 or 8 games, he hands over captaincy to Shreyas, who's at that time 22, 23 at best, I would imagine.
23, yeah.
And then last 6-7 games, he wins most of them. But still, I mean, all he does is not leave Delhi at number 10. Next year, he takes over. They qualify. Then again, they get into the final in 2020. 19, they qualified. 20, they got to the final. 21, they changed the captain to Rishabh.
He was fired.
Well, Shreyas was fired as captain.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, they must have had some reason, I guess. So Shreyas puts himself back into the auction.
He's a big Delhi fan, huh? Joy. The thing is, Neeraj's a big Delhi fan, so he's like, no, you can't.
I'm a big Shreyas fan.
Rishabh Pant came, they had to choose between the two captains, and they went with Pant. So, there you go.
Shreyas goes into the auction, and rather leaves Delhi, and then gets picked up in the auction, not even off season.
Yeah.
Gets made captain. Year 1 has some issues with Baz McCullum, and then sits out 1 season and comes back. So there's a redemption story here as well, right? Because 2023 World Cup, he was one of our star players, and loses the India contract, and then almost unnoticed, he's put together a good season for himself as a batter. I think his numbers are fairly decent by the end of it.
No.
Yeah, he
He
didn't get to
and
bat too much. Yeah.
Is he
he
back?
and Venkatesh Iyer have been revelations through this tournament. And they're especially in the business end of the tournament, and exactly that. What GK said is very true. It's just that they haven't had the opportunity to bat too much because the openers are so destructive that they didn't have to bat too much. But I just want to come back to one point on GK. You're absolutely right, GK. You look at Glenn Phillips and saying that Glenn Phillips is sitting for 14 matches. The IPL winning big tournaments is all about making hard decisions. In
Yeah.
the 2012 final, just before the final, the last match, Lakshmipati Balaji gets Virendra Sehwag out, makes sure India, because KKR will qualify, and then is out for the finals. And the moment he's out for the finals, what do? You need to adjust. You need a fast bowler. You don't have any other fast bowlers. So what do? You go and pick up uh, Brett Lee to play as a fast bowler. But that means what are the other three international players you play? And Kolkata will always play Sunil Narayan. They will always play Jacques Kallis because they're all rounders. They give you, and Sunil Narayan was at that time a god with the ball. And they play Shakib because he's an all rounder. And Brendan McCullum sat out. Brendan McCullum didn't play in the 2012 finals. And
Wow.
that's the point. My point only is that winning tournaments is about taking hard decisions. And you're right. You look at it and you say, whatever logic it is, how can Glenn Phillips not play? And then you turn around and say that, yeah, Glenn Phillips played last year. But they came
Yeah.
10th. And this year they reached the finals. So
Yeah.
there's some amount of hard-headedness, and it's not fair. Life is not fair. Uh, IPL teams are not fair. Winning is not fair. But you have to take certain decisions, and they took it. And I really feel for Glenn Phillips, but I appreciate the fact that there's somebody there who can take tough decisions and go through with it.
Can I add one more
Joel,
guy in KKR? I want to add one more guy in KKR, by the way, who really impressed me was Ramandeep, right? Ramandeep ne jo, matlab, he's hit a couple of knocks when he came down at 7 or 8 when he was playing. But the fielding that this guy has done, no, he has impressed me so much with the fielding he's done. He was like a toll naka at the boundary. Right? It's like koi nahi ja payega. Nobody can go. And then yesterday he impressed me so much with the catch. There was a skyer that was hit. He comes down under it, and these skiers are very difficult. All players will tell you they're very difficult in the night sky because sometimes they twirl, sometimes you don't know what's exactly happening, and the air changes, altitude changes. They've not, he's not played in Chennai perhaps that much. Then he really has the wherewithal to look for the keeper. So he looks कि भाई keeper अगर आ रहा है तो we shouldn't collide and drop this catch. He looks at the keeper, looks back up, finds the ball again magically, right? And just takes it Australia style reverse cup. I
So I'll tell
was
you a story. I do a lot of these corporate workshops, and one of the questions I ask everyone, and it's a standard one, is turning around and saying, "Okay, what's tougher, a reflex catch in the slips or a high catch?" And they're like divided, reflex catch, high catch. And I said, "Dude, go and ask any player. Okay, the one thing they will tell you is it's a high catch." So they say, "Why?" I said, "Boss, a high catch is when you have 12 to 8 to 12 seconds to understand exactly the consequences of what will happen if you drop that catch. Okay,
yeah.
मेरा team में जाएगा, we'll lose this match, I'll get dropped from the next match, my girlfriend will leave me, I'll get sacked from this, I'll never play for the Indian team again. All that, you have enough bloody time for all that to pass through your mind. So high catches, I remember in KKR in 2012 when we won, Saurav Ganguly playing in the Eden, the ball goes up straight up. It went so high that 5 guys could catch it. 2 guys are not even looking at the ball. They're like looking away. We don't even want to see this ball because, dude, if we have to see the ball, we have to catch it. And a
Yeah.
couple of guys are running towards it because the truth is that, dude, when is a good team? A good team is when your need to win is more than your fear of failure. Or what happens when your need to win is more than your fear of what happens if you drop this catch. And that's why I think it's part Ramandeep, part the atmosphere that made in KKR saying, I'll take it because I know my team will back me even if I drop it. And that's a big
Nice.
thing in your head, man.
Badhiya.
if I'm not wrong, Ramandeep was in MI in 2022. And since we were working with him, he showed a lot of promise. it's a shock, almost a shocker that MI let him go, because he was almost like the right fit. He was bowling a couple of overs, giving them runs at number 8, number 9.
किस-किस को रखेंगे यार एमआई बेचारे.
नहीं, but उस साल तो फिर कोई जरूरत नहीं है.
टीम है उनकी.
It wasn't a mega
छोड़ना
auction.
पड़ेगा.
It wasn't a
Yeah.
mega auction, so they had,
Yeah.
they didn't have
Look,
to leave.
big teams, lot of players slip through the cracks. I mean, don't forget Shashank Singh has been around in the Mumbai team, not the Mumbai Indians, but the Mumbai team as early as 2017-18. So
Yeah.
things happen, man.
Okay. Coming back to a couple of things on the KKR bowling. Harshit Rana, India material.
Absolutely.
I think so. I love it. GK, you go, but I just love him. I think Harshit Rana of that team is serious material, and of course, obviously, given Delhi politics, for him to find a regular place in Delhi is perhaps a little bit more difficult than for him to find a regular place in India. That may be easier.
The Delhi Guardian. But
क्या है वो पुरानी कहावत कि दिल्ली संभाल लो देश संभल जाएगा, है ना? That's the old, वही है ना पुरानी कहावत कि दिल्ली संभाल लो देश, पर दिल्ली नहीं संभाला जाता डोमेस्टिक क्रिकेट में. बाप रे, वो बहुत पास है ना पार्लियामेंट हाउस के, तो वो पॉलिटिक्स इज कंटेजियस दैट वे. काफी बड़ी हो जाती है बेचारी पॉलिटिक्स. बट आई थिंक कि बहुत सही था टू सम ऑफ द बैटर्स, लाइक जस्ट द पेस ही वाज बॉलिंग एट, द लाइन, द लेंथ. मतलब कितने, हाउ मेनी बैटर्स सेड हमको राणा जी माफ करना, गलती मारे से हो गई. कितने थे? 17, 16 कितने लिए उसने? 19. तो 19 उसके हैं, 19 रसल के हैं, 22 वरुण के हैं, 21 वरुण के हैं. तो अगर आप 2 साल पहले देखें तो जीटी ने नहीं, लास्ट ईयर देखें जब फाइनल हुआ था, तो देयर वाज राशिद, मोहित एंड शमी all got 27-28 each, right?
Yeah.
But here you notice that is spread actually amongst 5 bowlers. So automatically you tell na, if 3 bowlers having a great season are good enough to take you to the final, then 5 means the trophy to aani hai na, fir kya karoge?
It's actually a 6th one. There was, like, we're forgetting Vaibhav, who also got 11 in the 7 or 8 games he played.
And he got 8-9 in the power play. We are talking about the power play wickets. He got 8 or 9 of them.
So 6. So 6 there.
That's the other thing about Kolkata. You talk about Kolkata bowling. They had fast bowlers who could bowl at all stages. So Stark and Vaibhav up front could swing the ball. Then you had Russell coming in, who's one of the sharpest, smartest guys in the middle also. And then Vaibhav and Harshit coming back at the death, both of whom bowled very well at the death. Lots of change of pace and all that. So you've got an attack like that. And then you've got 2 spinners named Sunil Narine and Varun Chakravarti. Varun Chakravarti has been in this league for about 6-7 years. No, 7-8 years now. And nobody still reads him, man. Nobody still reads him. And they say that, I mean, Michael was telling, he says, I still can't read him. They still, and you could make out these guys, can't read him, man.
So Harshit, there were a couple of games he got the new ball. And I actually at that point of time thought he is a red ball kind of bowler, because even though he has many, like, changes of pace and off cutters and stuff like that, he can bowl. His 140 perfect outswingers a couple of times, and then for some reason or the other, Vaibhav got the new ball yesterday and in a few other games. But I actually think Harshit has he's 22, and I think he's going to be our next big.
Yeah, look, you got Harshit, you got kids there. You got now it's upon how they do it, how well they do it. But man, this IPL is the gift that keeps giving to Indian cricket. Play. और थोड़ा क्या चाहिए, bowler चाहिए ले दे, batter चाहिए चलिए दे दे. Dude, every year they just dish it out to you, they give it to you, man.
Yeah, good point. इस साल बड़े निकल के आए हैं. मयंक यादव की इतनी बात हो रही है. मयंक यादव was amazing. जो उसने, if they can just figure out, BCCI can figure out to get him, body mechanics coach and nutritionist or whatever's required. He's like a treasure now. So just wrap him in cotton wool and grow him, and he can become a tree. But it's required. Fast bowling is hard, yaar. Na genetics na thode se we are slightly disadvantaged also. So thoda zyada ख्याल रखना पड़ता है. I think रखना चाहिए. There's no dearth of resources. There's no dearth of correct professionals. So I think if he gets that, he can be there. But I think Harshit Rana for sure. Abhishek Sharma, man, he impressed me so much because I've been tracking him since his Delhi days. When he was in Delhi, एक बारी आया था नंबर 6 पे उसने और बड़ी hits मारी थी. And it was around that time I remember talking to UV about him. And he said, "A ladka bada sahi." And they traded him to Hyderabad then, right? If you remember, he had got traded to Sunrisers Hyderabad back then. There was a 3 trade. They got Shikhar Dhawan, Delhi, and they sent 3 players over there, which was Abhishek Sharma, Shahbaz Nadeem, and Nirav?
Vijay Shankar.
Vijay Shankar, thank you. So they sent 3 players over there, and Abhishek has been around for a few seasons, again batting sort of middle, would get a few games to open. I remember in this very room, I was watching a game when UV walked in and Abhishek had just got out. This was a couple of years ago, one of the lockdown IPLs. And I said, "Ladka bahut acha khela." He says, "Out kaise hua?" He was like, that's what he was interested in. He says, "Out kaise hua?" मैंने कहा यार वो ऐसे उसने कहा खड़ी कर दी. Class लेता हूँ कल उसकी. So, it's good to have a guy who, has played so well, has won so much, is a certified white ball legend as your mentor. And then he got Brian Lara as well. So I think when people like Brian Lara and Yuvraj Singh see promise in a guy, then all of us should just sit back and say, yeah, this guy's gold. And he's proven it this year. So it's fantastic. I'm very happy for him. I've really enjoyed his batting.
So one thing I think might have slipped in the news, which was there's an NCA announced a high performance monitoring program. I don't know what it means, but they've identified 8-10 younger players, and I think it includes names like Mushir Khan, Mayank, Harshit, Sai Sudarshan, Riyan Parag, I think Padikal also, and a couple of white ball guys like Kotian and Shams Mulani. Red ball guys like Kotian and Shams Mulani. So they put together India A kind of a setup and to mentor them and to monitor them and I guess fast track them into India colors. I mean, some of them have already played for India. I think Shreyas was also in there and Ishan is also in there. So they've kind of put together a non-contracted set of 10 odd players.
Yeah, look, there is enough talent, and I think that's what my point. That even Shreyas Iyer, I mean, look, we all talk about Shreyas Iyer not playing domestic or this. Dude, Shreyas Iyer has scored 1,000 runs in the Ranji Trophy. Let's not forget that. Shreyas Iyer was a domestic animal for Mumbai. He has scored a mountain of runs for them. And that's when people talk, sometimes I look at them and I say, dude, Rinku Singh averages almost 60 in first class cricket. Okay? Shreyas Iyer is a domestic legend. So when you talk white ball cricket, बहुत पैसा मिलता है बॉल मारने के लिए, छक्का मारने के लिए, sorry dude, you don't follow domestic cricket. We follow domestic cricket not for any else because it's great fun to follow these guys here. And I really, really get angry at people who just discount people saying that, all you have to do is play like and hit the ball. If it was that bloody easy, I mean, these guys wouldn't be paid the big bucks. And that's the truth of it. That, I'll tell you, I always use this analogy that what happens with classical music. जब हम classical music देखते हो, jazz, okay? Jazz में what happens is that you pay off notes, okay? So it seems as if it's not, in sync. But the off notes in jazz comes because you understand the grammar of jazz so well, the grammar of proper music so well that you can play it. Similarly, in classical music in India, you can sort of innovate because you know the basics so well. So one of the reasons guys who can innovate so well is because their basics are really solid. So if today somebody like a Rinku Singh innovates or somebody like a Shreyas Iyer innovates, his base is really good. He's done the basics. And therefore, now that he's done the basics, he can riff on top of the basics. And that's one thing that we just do not understand. We think it's all about playing off notes. अरे यार, normal notes नहीं पता होने तो off notes बजाकर कोई फायदा नहीं है. And when you look at our batters, think about that. They know how to bat classically. That's why they can bat this way.
No, a lot of them.
Suresh Menon, हमारे जो दोस्त हैं, Suresh Menon, the comedian, not the cricket writer. Suresh Menon, the comedian, has said that, and he's a big MI fan. We've also done some stuff with him. So he's saying, he put out a tweet saying, I hope next year MI can get Chandrakant Pandit and Abhishek Nair, right? And I want to tell him कि भाई देखो players में retention का problem हो सकता है, support staff में कोई retention का problem नहीं है. मुझे नहीं लगता कि KKR इन दोनों को कहीं जाने देगा. So yeah, I don't think. I think they'll even if there was an external offer, I think they'd match it.
But am I
Can one
can
of you, sorry, Nirav, मैं बस एक चीज पूछना चाह रहा था. Can one of you throw some light?
more than most?
अरे फिर दोनों एक साथ बोल रहे हो. शिशिर.
हाँ, मैं ये कह रहा था कि अभिषेक नायर जो पर्सनल काम करते हैं प्लेयर्स के साथ, लाइक रिंकू सिंह एंड इवन दिनेश कार्तिक, कैन वन ऑफ यू थ्रो सम लाइट ऑन व्हाट गोज बिहाइंड द सीन्स एंड व्हाई पीपल क्रेडिट हिम सो मच फॉर व्हाटएवर वर्क ही हैज डन? वी ऑफन टॉक अबाउट इट, बट वो अंडर द रेडार चले जाते हैं हर बार.
Look, I know a little bit about DK's relationship with Abhishek Nair, and I think that's the point. That see, what happens is there are 2-3 parts to it. One of the parts is technical. Okay, what you're going to do, how you're going to bat, how you're not going to bat, what you're going to do. But the second part of it is also telling the guy, okay, you're worth it, you're good enough, you have something to contribute to this, and that's a large part of it. So it's not even saying that you're good enough to, and not stopping there. It's good enough to say, DK, you're coming to Bombay. I'm going to meet you at the airport. We're going straight to the ground. We're going to do 2 hours of practice. And we're going to work on exactly this. And that's what Abhishek does a lot of. He actually locks down, and especially Dinesh has spoken a lot about this, that he just locks down, says, this is what you need to do. This is what I'm going to make you do. And this, he does not allow that doubt to rise in players' minds. Because players are the most insecure creatures on the planet. They have to be, because they live in such an uncertain place. 3 matches they've not scored, they feel they're going to get dropped. 1 year they've not scored that much, they feel that, okay, I should retire now. And therefore, you think Dinesh Karthik is thinking of retiring now? He must have been thinking of retiring for the last 3-4 years in his head. And it takes other people to turn around and say, no, you've got a lot to give. You want to come here, you're going to practice, you're going to do this. And I think that is so important to players. It's not funny. And I think Abhishek Nair does a lot of that. So it's not just about what you teach technically. It's about saying, I'm spending the next 2.5 hours with you for the next 2 weeks because I have faith in you.
Yeah.
I mean, India player is a coach and I have faith in you.
I think he's more mental conditioning than skills, right? And that's what it is. You notice that your players go from good to great. They go because they can. I mean, that's in every sport and in every sphere of life. You obviously have the skill. That's why you're playing on the biggest stage. But can you unlock your potential and go, one step higher? Can you do a level unlock? And I guess that's what he ends up doing. That's what we've heard from Dinesh Karthik. Talks about Abhishek Nair's boot camp that used to run for him in Mumbai. He talks about it quite a lot.
Guys, I'm just going to go and get myself some Diet Coke. Back in a bit.
So, the shameless plug for that was, you can watch all that story which on Breakfast with Champions season 5 episode kaun sa wala? Dinesh Karthik talking about Abhishek Nair and how he did. Actually, when I was editing it, I used to always imagine Karate Kid, the film, and that equation between the mentor and the trainee. I always got that feeling when Dinesh Karthik narrated.
Miyagi-san.
So they're very, making him do all kinds of menial tasks and,
Yeah, Miyagi-san. Wax on, wax off.
Wax off, and making him
wax
tougher.
On, wax off. Wax on.
And I think उन्होंने घर में भी रखा था कि तू यहाँ रहे, यहाँ I'll take care of the basic stuff, and then so that you don't have to worry about anything.
How important is Dinesh Karthik? I was telling DK when I met him yesterday. I told him, I said, dude, your 80 odd against SRH just turned out to be so important because obviously RCB was not winning that match, but because he launched this on the, just towards the end on SRH, that also helped in their net run rate. So I said, well done on that game, because sometimes you can just think, all right, there's no way we're getting this chase, but he just kept going. He kept hammering them. So I think everybody plays a part here. Small part. It all goes ahead of that. I'll tell you some of my favorite moments of the IPL before we wrap up. There's a few things that really stood out for me. I think one was Virat Kohli and Ishant Sharma in that game when Delhi played Bangalore. I thought that their little no joke was too cute, man. I'll live for stuff like that. Two guys who have obviously been playing together for almost like more than 2 decades. And then they come face to face, and Virat Kohli, the heat of the competition, he loves that. But then his buddy makes him smile. Ishant Sharma makes him smile. He's smiling when he's playing with him. I really enjoyed that. Wo moment बहुत ही cute लगा मेरे को. And also एक और चीज, but I don't know that history was made in this IPL when Kolkata played against RCB. That was the first time in the history of cricket that both impact subs were called Suyash.
Interesting.
Prabhu,
It was
Prabhu,
also a first time in
and
history where Arora bowled to whom? Both names of palindromes. I read this somewhere.
Makram.
Yeah, yeah.
Akram. So that also first time in history. Also first time in history, when very interesting trivia which I found, and it's a comment on a changing generation. It's the first time, and I mentioned this to Gaurav the other day, that on the weekend there was no Virat Kohli, no Dhoni, no Rohit. In all
In the
18
last
years,
week.
the last
Yeah, in
weekend.
playoff week.
No, in the weekend, in the last Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, in the weekend. Sorry. Yeah.
They were always in the final. One of them, MI
Yeah.
CSK, or RCB, and if not, they were in the eliminator.
Yeah.
So it's like they were always number 3
The
team
qualifier, you mean.
in the
Qualifier 2.
qualifier too. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, the first time. So did that, or do you think these kind of things will impact the viewership and the fan bases of
No,
the
look,
various IPL teams
I,
going forward?
I spent a lot of time thinking about it because I was there, and GK and me were there in the IPL from the very start. So that first auction, I was a part of that first auction, and not just the auction, it's also the under 19 players who had a separate auction on a separate day, and I was a part of that as well. And the truth of it is that the class of 2008 fascinates me. So if I look at that, who's left in that class of 2008, and you're tracking these guys: Ravindra Jadeja, Piyush Chawla, Virat Kohli, Ravindra Dhoni,
Dinesh Karthik, Shikhar Dhawan.
Dinesh Karthik is gone now. I mean,
Well,
hopefully not.
on that note, I have a question. Like, has Dinesh Karthik announced his retirement? Because everybody else seems to have. A lot of people on social media,
Look,
broadcasters.
even if, look, my only point is I know DK and GK will also say this. Right now, Dinesh Karthik thinks he wants to retire. He's fit enough. He's capable enough. He's fit enough. I hope he can change his mind. I hope somebody makes him change his mind before next year.
I asked him yesterday. I said, "Did you say that you had retired?" He said, "No, yeah, they've only retired me." He said, "Everybody retired me. I never said anything." So then it's okay. I also enjoyed the applause. So yeah, they all think it's the last game, that he may have played the last game. But yeah, with DK again, never count him out. Huh? They just come back again.
The fat lady has not yet sung. She's cleared her
That's
throat,
right.
maybe, but she's not yet sung.
Yeah, not yet, son. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent,
Okay.
guys.
The other interesting trivia was that none of the teams yesterday featured a World Cup India player, which is a interesting thing. I mean, I don't know whether that impacts the World Cup squad in any way.
we have a
But
graphic, yeah.
the irony is that the 10th place team has four players who are probably all going to be in the 11.
Yeah, none of the three teams actually playing. Sorry, no, RR had nobody in the final.
Sanju and Jaiswal. Sanju Jaiswal
Yeah, yeah. They have Jaiswal and Samson
and Chahal.
and UC, of course. So they've got players. Yeah, but these two in the final there was no player. Correct. Interesting.
Yeah, look, as I said, that for me is more of a reflection on the fact that Indian cricket is as even as it can get. And we've looked at a team where, see, I'll tell you one more thing. I was just thinking about it and saying that this team is a team that the World Cup team is a team that bats on unknown surfaces. So you have veteran guys who are going to go there on unknown surfaces and say, okay, dude, I've seen this for the last 15 years. I know how to tackle unknown surfaces. And I have a couple of injections of youth. Jaiswal is my youth injection. Okay. Rishabh Pant, though he's not that young, is my youth injection. But the rest of it are like tried and tested guys, dude. If conditions change, we know how to change. And let me tell you one thing. That's my point. That the IPL now, especially in the league stages, can be a 200, 220, 230 game. Okay. The World Cup is not going to be. Not with the surfaces. When you don't know the surfaces, national teams playing a lot of pressure. That's my point. And in that
Yep.
170, 180 kind of
Impact player.
Playoffs maybe, huh?
yeah, it's Rohit Central and Virat Central. That's
This is a great team for a 170, 175 surface. If the surface has any spin at all, Rohit is, Shana, he's a Shatir. He will get that. He will get his spinners to play. This will work well. And if you have 170, 180s, you know exactly how Virat is a chase master of that. He knows exactly how to program himself. And this year, all the strike rate warriors will agree that he's given you 165 kind of season as well. So you're happy with that. So I think that the chances for India for this World Cup are really good, all things considered.
Any
छोटे
worries in
grounds
this
भी हैं.
50? Any worries before we sign off? I mean, looking forward to the World Cup.
I like this team, to be honest with you. I didn't when they started off because I felt that it needed a couple of more young players to do it. And I felt that perhaps we need to start. But I was looking at it and saying that, dude, this is not going to be 200 matches. These are not going to be 200, 220 matches. That's going to be the rarity. That's going to be the exception rather than the rule. And if it's the exception for that surface, this is a great Indian team. And once we go, remember, when you're going to start playing in conditions where, the ball is just not coming on, the kind of spinners we have, they're crazy. I mean, to play Kuldeep or Kuldeep, Jadeja, Chahal, the likes in these conditions is not going to be easy.
Gaurav mentioned some of his memories. Joy, you have a memory from this year. What you remember this season by, an image or a moment or something?
Okay, I mean, GK's memory is also one of my favorite memories, that because I've seen Ishant as a 17-year-old and I just so love him. I just find him, he's amazing. Mine is just Harpreet Brar there on the ground singing Pug, and Ashish Nehra's son, listening to him rap, and all the boys standing around, all the Punjab, Shubman Gill's also a Punjab boy, the Punjab team boys all standing around. And it just tells you how precious this tournament is, how precious it is. They're making a lot of money, they're under a lot of tension. But when these kids get together and they can sing a song, and one guy can sing a song and five guys can stand around and clap, but the coach of the opposing team turns around and tells his son, listen to this guy.
Yeah.
It was special for me. It's very special.
Yeah. Nice one.
I have a lasting memory from last night, in fact. The game ended at 10:20 and Gaurav and I met about an hour later and the presentation still hadn't started. Started finally at, I think, an hour and a half after the game finished. Almost at 12.
90 minutes. Yeah.
90 minutes, yeah. And after a few dozen awards and interviews, then came the final presentation, the trophy. And I've seen awkward, and that has got to be the top. Roger Binney and Jay Shah handing the trophy to Shreyas Iyer without making eye contact. So, interesting.
I just want to say one thing is that I really feel that I know the award ceremony has a lot of awards because it's cricket, batter, bowler, everything, fielding effort, etc., etc. Though there are a lot more awards than there are in football, but they have to figure out how to start it and set it up and start it a little quicker. Like when you see with the Champions Trophy, what they do with the World Cup in football, what they do, like it happens in 10-15 minutes. I don't remember it ever being 1 hour.
So what I read is because the innings was just 72 minutes, KKR innings, because of the sponsors and everyone, like unka itna paisa laga and everything, that's why the broadcasters they had to delay it for that long, for 90 minutes.
I'm not sure. I think you're losing more viewers then. People is
2.5 minutes, Gaurav, which I mentioned last night. 2.5 minutes of the strategic timeout was lost for broadcast.
I just feel इतनी देर नहीं लगनी चाहिए stage में. अच्छा सा stage लगाया था, पर यार लोग trophy देखना चाहते हैं. They want to. I don't even think the World Cup took that long.
There's no way.
Yesterday was.
You're right.
I just think basically, I think the guys the people who were supposed to set up the stage, वो chill मार रहे होंगे. उनको लगा यार अभी तो है 45 minutes और. तो maybe they couldn't find them in the stadium. वो Marina Beach चले गए होंगे.
Also, Shah Rukh Khan got down on the stadium, and he was like literally going to each and every person, congratulating them, kissing on their foreheads and everything. So I think that entertained, basically.
Look, I have one considered point on this, okay, which is that you're giving your telecast out to two separate people. You're giving it out to Star Sports and you're giving it out to Jio. And at this point in time, they're separate, correct? They're not entities, one entity at this point, plus a lot of foreign places where it's going. So my point is that you can't, no one producer can tell them, no one guy can turn on and tell them that, look, that's all we're doing on the field. We've got to, continue on the field for so long. So it has to be a BCCI production decision. That's my point. Yeah, and that's my point. Therefore, somewhere it cannot be Star Sports can't tell you because Star Sports can't tell you something. You can tell you something separate. Okay. So it has to be a BCCI production decision. If that's the case, then dude, what Gaurav is saying is more likely to be true than any of the others.
Or it was just a pre-decided time that we'll start at 11:45 and that's it, irrespective of when the match finishes.
I don't think so. They'd be happy to start it earlier. You get more viewers. Remember, most of India goes off to sleep by 10:30. It is a Sunday evening.
But they're
It's a
an hour and a
Sunday
half of
evening. So
Shahrukh
I
Khan.
think, huh?
I think
They're an
somebody
hour
didn't take a
and a
call. I think somebody didn't take a call. They were caught unprepared, a bit napping. They didn't take a call, though they should have seen 113 and alarm bells should have been rung in their heads.
I mean,
Hey,
last
knows?
year, the award ceremony was on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
so that award ceremony we
Yeah.
don't even want to talk about because all of us were in the studio for the second day in succession, and I
That
think
was a
one of our
3-day game.
producers-
And I was at the stadium,
Right.
and there was no transport to go back here. I had to wait for the hour and then the hour and a half for the
Boats. You
presentation.
needed boats, right? To go
No,
back?
there was no way to get out of the stadium. It's the
Yeah.
Narendra
You said
Modi
to use a
Stadium.
boat because that was the previous day. The previous day you had to use a boat. This day you didn't have to use. But this day also it rained, and I remember it raining, and the people at the ground said that apparently the covers had been moved out of the normal position. The covers were not where they should have been because there was a performance in the interval in the innings break, and therefore it took a little extra time for the covers. And even those 2-3 minutes when the rain flashes down like that, those 2-3 minutes can make a big difference, right? They can cut a lot of time. I mean, honestly, if for 10 seconds I was to pour water on my carpet right now, it would make a difference. So think of 3 minutes of rain or 4 minutes of rain; it can make a world of a difference.
All right, that's
Excellent.
that then. And
That's that then. That's business.
Then disappointing IPL final itself, but great tournament. And I think probably
one
I'd
of the
say
best tournaments I've seen.
17,
I mean, the
in
final was
17
not
years,
great.
the gap between the
I've seen otherwise.
the gap between the first and last wasn't as bad as it usually is. A lot of teams in the middle at 12 points and 14 points. So that was good to see that the gaps and the competition level has become far higher over the last couple of years. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Shushir, for joining us tonight.
Thanks
and
very much,
celebrating
guys. Thank you for having me on.
Guys, thank you.
We'll wish India all the best, and that's it. See you next week or whenever.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.